my Kinvians, and welcome to a brand new episode of Discovering Game of Thrones. You might notice, well, possibly that things look a little bit different because I'm recording this with a new camera, so hopefully it turns out okay. But, yeah, today I'm going to be watching Fire and Blood, the finale of the first season of Game of Thrones, and I don't know about you all, but I am definitely looking forward to checking this out. Or I guess maybe you all are looking forward to me checking it out because most of you are probably caught up with the show at this point. But, alright, going to start Fire and Blood. There will be much fire, and there will be much blood. Oh, okay, that did work. No beers this time, just water. It's healthier. Let's see, where is it going to start off? I actually don't know. Literally right where we left off. Okay. I remember him now, because you all reminded me. It's like he's talking to me! Oh god, it's one of the dire wolves. Shaggy dog. Oh goodness. I hate that child.
Isn't it a funny song? And as soon as you've had your blood, I'll put a son in you. Mother says that shouldn't be long.
Really?
No, please, no! This one's your father.
Oh.
This one here. Look at it and see what happens to traitors. He promised to be merciful. I was.
Oh, really?
I gave him a clean death. Look at this. And kill your traitor brother. I'm going to give you his head as well. Or maybe he'll give me yours.
Oh, Sansa.
That must be lonely. Is that why you came? I'm not at my best, but I
Shut your mouth.
slip out of that gown and we'll see if I'm up to it.
You deserved that.
Get up, all of you.
I need to brood. As an old man broods. By filleting a boar!
Not you.
Or a stag. Oh.
Why not anyone? Why me? You're my son.
It's finally treating him with some respect.
And one more thing.
He lives.
He's a vegetable.
Paid for life.
This is not life. When will he be as he was?
When the sun rises in the west, sets in the east. When the seas go dry, when the mountains blow in the wind.
She did this on purpose. She did all of this on purpose. Oh. Oh, wow. I am now a bit intrigued by him and don't wish him to die yet, maybe?
When you imagine yourself up there, how do you look? You look exhausted. Was your moonlight ride that tiring?
Uh-oh.
So terrified. We beheaded everyone that ran away for the night. Ghosts would guard the wall.
Okay.
Pouring in Mole's town.
He was no dragon. Because fire doesn't hurt a dragon. She is the dragon. Didn't kill her. And she's completely naked. Holy crap, she has 3 dragons. Ho 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 ho. I want one. It's a little raptor. Okay then. Oh God. Okay. Okay. Oh wow. Ooh. Okay. So. All right then. I'm going to. As usual, I will take my time and I will go over my thoughts here, take down my notes, and I will be back with you all for the review portion of this video. So, see you all in just a minute. Hello everyone and welcome back to the review portion of this video, and a whole lot of thoughts on this episode. I mean, and I feel like I actually can't remember how many annoyances I've actually had in episodes in the past, but I actually do have a few this time. I'm curious to hear what you all think about those, but first let's get into my favorite parts of this episode, as always. And to start off with, it's Yoren, who, again, thank you all for letting me know in the comments multiple times that Yoren was the guy from the Night's Watch. And, but yeah, I definitely got, I apologize if I didn't reply to you if you said that in your comment, because a lot of people pointed that out to me. But message received for sure. But, Yoren calling Arya boy. And it just, it seemed strange at first, but it made sense, I mean, very quickly. I mean, they didn't really waste any time with it, but he's basically conditioning Arya to at least try to convince people that she's a boy, because if they know who she is, they will turn her in. So yeah, I found that to be a really interesting part, a very interesting start to the episode, really, other than the fact that we see, or we start up literally just as the sword that cut off Ned's head is getting pulled up. So yeah, again, very interesting start to the episode. And then my next favorite part has to do with Well, I guess you could essentially say it's all of the Starks learning of Ned's execution, but it starts off with the return of the three-eyed raven. And we find out that not only does Bran have this dream again, but seemingly Rickon, however you pronounce his name, like I don't know that he's having the Raven dream necessarily, but he did have a dream where he saw Ned down there. So it's possible that maybe both Bran and Rickon are having similar dreams or premonitions, maybe? I don't know. But, and then we see Cat learning of, well, after she's learned of it, and she takes a moment to mourn, but then she sees Robb just finding his own way to mourn and just going crazy on a tree with his sword and apparently ruining his sword, which I don't know if that was supposed to be a serious line from her, or if it was supposed to be something just kind of a joke to also kind of comfort him and saying, you know, you've ruined your sword. Either way, it made me laugh. But still, just all of the scenes concerning the Starks learning of Ned's execution, I thought they were done really well. Now, a character that I have admittedly kind of ragged on in the past, Sansa. And actually, yeah, I think she's probably been part of my annoyances in the past. I do remember I've had at least a few in the past. But starting with this episode, I mean, it's under horrible conditions for sure. But Sansa, I mean, complete personality change. She went from essentially adoring Joffrey and trying to find ways to please him while also saving her father to just outright loathing him. For completely understandable reasons. But I honestly, I wish it was under different conditions, but in this one simple scene where she talks back to Joffrey and considers pushing him over the bridge, my opinion of her has changed completely. Because, I mean, she's changed as a character. She has, in a very short amount of time, grown up as a character. So yeah, great part there. I loved it. And that also, this isn't necessarily I wouldn't say one of my favorite parts, but when we see, like, Sansa is walking over to seemingly push Joffrey off the bridge, the Hound stops her, and it's like he cleans her face, and I don't know how to interpret that exactly. I don't know whether, is it the Hound sort of showing care for Sansa, or is it more him just sort of non-aggressively keeping Joffrey from dying? Because he acknowledges that she's going to need that again in the future. So I don't know how to interpret that exactly. I would like to be optimistic and think that maybe he is he is showing some level of care for her. I guess they'll have to wait and see with that in the show. But yeah, just have to wait and see. But that was one thing that definitely intrigued me. But overall, Sansa talking back to Joffrey, I now feel bad for disliking her as much as I did through the rest of the season. I really do. But moving on from there, my next favorite part of this episode, and it's very simple, but it's the scene where all the armies of the North, well, at least the ones that are gathered there, they bow to Robb, who they proclaim the King of the North. Or is it the King in the North? I think it's King of the North. But yeah, I found that just really interesting. I just love the fact that, again, Robb, as young as he is, I mean, he's shown a lot of intelligence when it comes to the battles. It's like, tricking tricking the Lannisters as he did, and I don't know, it makes me kind of hopeful for what is to come. At the same time, I know a lot of people die in the show, and I'm sure things are only going to get more crazy moving forward, so, you know, however I feel about that particular scene may mean nothing in the end, but I'll just have to wait and see. My next favorite part of this episode, yeah, it is a favorite part, but it's when Cat goes to see Jaime. And while the scene as a whole isn't necessarily my favorite, because Jaime, I don't know, to me at least, Jaime was just really annoying with the way he acts. But I did like the part where Cat beats him in the face with a rock. But I think the reason why I'm... Again, it's sort of a favorite part because of that, but at the same time not, is because it shows just how much of a coward, in my eyes, how much of a coward Jaime really is. It's like he says he's not afraid of death, he's not afraid of dying. And yet when the question of why he pushed Bran out the window and hoped he would die, he can't tell the truth. So he, I mean, in my eyes, he is a coward. Even if he doesn't fear death, he is a coward, very much so. And actually, I guess that's an opinion you could have of him from the beginning, since he pushed a child out the window, but, you know, still. But moving on from there, my next favorite part is when Tywin speaks with Tyrion. You know, he dismisses all of the people at the table, which actually has a really good line from Tyrion. I don't think I actually made it a line of the episode, and I probably should, but essentially he knocks his goblet over and says it would be easier for you to drink from that cup than to, you know, bring Robb over to our side or to make peace with him at this point, thanks to Joffrey. But, yeah, just, that scene as a whole I really liked, and it was an interesting moment at the end because of how Tywin had treated Tyrion up to that point. And he tells Tyrion to act or be the hand in Tywin's place with Joffrey and essentially rule, to take over and to keep Joffrey and his mother in check. And, you know, Tyrion, understandably, again, given the history that we've only experienced with watching the show with Tywin, is he says, why me? It's like, you know, he's, why not my uncle? Why not all these other people? You were my son. And he says it in the same way that he referred to Jaime, because he's like, you know, they have my son. You need to get him back. So, I don't know. Maybe it's misleading, or maybe that's the intention of what they're doing here, but I feel like that line right there does show that Tywin has some respect for his son. It may not be on the same level as a lot of others, but it's a heck of a lot more than what he's shown in the past. So yeah. My next favorite part is when Daenerys awakes, or yeah, when Dany awakes from... They don't say how long, but I'm assuming it's just like a day. It's the next day after. And just gets all of this horrible, horrible news. And I know that's a terrible thing to make a favorite part, but what it leads up to is why it's a favorite part. It's like, you know, she finds out she lost her child. Apparently the child was born a monster. I don't know if that was just like emphasized by Miri or whatever her name is for dramatic effect to just drag the knife in even deeper into Dany's back. But all the Dothraki have left, but at least the Khalasar, like, you know, the army that they were leading. Drogo is alive, but he's essentially just a vegetable. He can breathe. It doesn't even seem to be able to blink or anything. Just there, existing. And then we find out, and I don't know, part of me felt like this was the case from the beginning, but it was still a bit surprising to find out. But I think all of that, possibly just that last bit with the ceremony, but possibly all of this from the moment that she healed, or supposedly healed Drogo, was her taking her revenge on them for what they did. And, I mean, her motivations are understandable, for sure. I mean, it was absolutely horrible what was going on, but at the same time, I definitely take Daenerys' side with this. It's like Daenerys tried to help her. It's like, you know, in the end, was she able to technically save anything other than those people's lives? No. But, yeah. That was a really tough scene, and I mean, as you can tell from the reaction, I pretty much knew from that moment, yeah, Miri's gonna die. But get to that in just a moment. Moving forward, my next favorite part is, well, I guess not necessarily when Jon leaves, like, you know, essentially he deserts, but then the scene where Samuel Grin, I think is his name, and then Pip, although it was spelled Pypar on the credits, but just call him Pip, I guess. But they all go after Jon to bring him back. It's just like, I enjoyed that scene, but I mean, for the usual Sam silliness, but also, I don't know, it's just the use of the speech when they recite the black to Jon and convince him to go back. It was a really powerful scene. It really was, and it showed a lot of brotherhood there, and them not wanting him to just give up, to just run off, because they know what would happen. I mean, he knows what would happen, and so do they. It was just a really powerful scene. My next favorite part, a very short scene, but it's reflective of the previous episode, and it's basically, I love the character Shay, and it's determined that Shay is going to go with Tyrion, not as his whore, but as the Hand's Lady. So yeah, I really hope she sticks around for a while, because she seems like she could be an awesome character. That probably means she'll end up dying, but hopefully she sticks around for a while at the very least. My next favorite part, okay, even though I hate this character, Grand Maester Pycelle, or however you pronounce his name, but the end of his scene, at least to me, it seems to imply that he's putting on a show. Like, he's putting on a show for people. Like, he's not really as weak and feeble and absent-minded as he seems to be. It's just, again, that's all I'm going to say about that, but that definitely caught my eye, despite the fact that I hate that character. Now, my next favorite part, sad as it is the scene, very emotional, and again, another very powerful scene, but it's with Daenerys with Drogo, trying to wake him, trying to see if talking to him could rouse him from this zombification, this vegetable state. But she can't, so in the end she takes mercy on him and suffocates him. And I just, especially with the added part of like his body shaking, that was, I mean, that made that especially just, it hurt to watch. And it's like I was saying in the at some point in the episode, but it's like that, as far as Drogo dying, that is not how I expected it to happen at all. And it's all that woman Miri's fault, or again, whatever her name is, but it was just so powerful and sad. So yeah, that, again, another favorite scene because of just how it was executed. My next favorite part was easily the silliest part of this entire episode, and that was the scene we get with Varys and Littlefinger, and they just kind of have a little sass war back and forth. Not necessarily bickering, but just taking shots at each other, and it almost felt out of place in this episode, honestly, but at the same time it works because of who these characters are. So yeah, again, just a very simple one there, but I did like that, admittedly. And this one picks up from the scene with, where now my next favorite part, again, I feel like a lot of these favorites are like very simple things, but they were great in the episode. But it's when Arya, or as she is now known, Arya the Orphan, Arya Polta, sorry, stands up to the bullies with Needle, and that was such an enjoyable scene. It really, really was. But not only that, but I looked and yeah, the guy that talks with Arya, or Ari, however you want me to refer to her as in this character. But the character that talks to her is Gendry, or Gendry, however you pronounce his name. And that's Robert's bastard son. Works with the blacksmith, or the armorer's apprentice that we see when Ned is going around in one of the earlier episodes. I found that interesting, and I honestly thought we wouldn't see him anymore at all. So this at least implies that we might, I mean, unless he dies in the next episode, which is entirely possible with this show, you know, we'll get to see more of him and learn more of him as an actual character. Who knows? Arya may find him to be sort of a brother figure. I don't know. But yeah, I did really enjoy that. My next favorite part was just very simply Jon and Ghost joining the rest of the Night's Watch to go beyond the wall and confront whatever they run into. The White Walkers, groups of wildlings, what have you. It just... I'm interested to see where that goes next season. I mean, I don't know if they're actually going to run into any White Walkers there, or if they'll just run into the, I've forgotten the name for the, like, people that the White Walkers have turned, but if they'll run into more of them necessarily, I'm interested to see how this goes, for sure. And that brings us to my final favorite part of the episode, and in my opinion, like, the most effective part of the episode, and that is simply Daenerys having Drogo's body burned. They place the eggs. She has the sorceress burned, which I saw coming, but the dragons come for, like, doing that. Not only does she go into the fire, and yes, it's like, you know, she is of dragon blood apparently, because the fire can't hurt her. All of her clothes went away, but she did not burn. She had a few little singes, essentially. The dragons hatched into tiny little raptors, and oh, that was just such an amazing, amazing scene. I loved it. I honestly loved it. And then that final scene with... I honestly kind of felt like when the fire was going on that was going to be the final part of it. But then when it cut to, you know, daybreak, and it shows Ser Jorah walking up, and that was the final scene. That was still a really good one, especially with the music that they used in that scene. But yeah, as a whole, that scene was just really well done in a crazy way to end the episode for sure. Whew. So yeah, or to end the season even. So yeah, those are all my favorites. Time to move on to my annoyances. You may be able to guess what they are, or maybe not, I don't know. This may just be me being petty, but they're still my annoyances. Number 1, Joffrey. Just everything he does in this episode, he needs cut. He needs cut bad. I cannot stand that character. Don't like anything about him. He has seemingly no redeeming traits at this point. Just none. He's a little shit that needs to die. Pardon my language. Like, he punishes a minstrel who made a stupid song about Robert dying and poking fun at at his mother, rather than sending him to like a jail for, you know, a while for punishment or whatever. Or I don't think it should be punished at all. But he has his tongue cut out. It was either his tongue or his fingers, and I just. But then also after that, he's forcing Sansa to obey. And basically, he cares nothing for her anymore at that point. Like, not at all. It's clear. It's like, his only purpose of having her around is to put a son in her, or put a child in her. I'm pretty sure he said son. After she bleeds. And just forcing her to submit to him. Like, he forces her to stare at Ned's head, and then the Septa's head. And if only this was the kind of show like Scrubs, where you get a moment of, like, you get a flash of what's happening in the person's imagination. I wish we could have seen what was going on in Sansa's head when she made the connection with the bridge and all that. That would have been satisfying. But this is not that kind of show. But my other annoyance was Grand Maester Pycelle. The reason is he's not dead yet. However, despite the fact that I don't like him, I am at least slightly intrigued in him right now, and whether or not he's just making himself seem more feeble and weak than he is, or if maybe he's not a weak and feeble old man and just putting on airs, essentially. I still don't like him, and I hope he dies. Because he needs to die. He's old and stupid. But moving on from there, I'm sorry. But as far as those go, as usual, let me know your own favorites or annoyances for this episode. I'd love to hear what you have to say, and I'd like to hear what you have to say about mine as well. Again, my annoyances, nitpicks, it's me being petty, but yeah, those are them. But moving on from there, my track of the episode, I know it plays into really what is the theme, or the title theme of the show, but the music that plays after the fire has gone out, when we see Ser Jorah walking up to where Drogo's body was, and where Dany and the dragons now are, just like the music and the build-up of that, it works so well. And just that scene, like, that music helped make that scene. It really, really did. It was amazing. It was so well done. So yeah, that's my track of the episode. As for quotes of the episode, I had quite a few. And, I mean, some of them I'm just going to say what they are, as opposed to reading them out, because it would take way too long. But, well, first of which, just to get it out of the way, it's when Sam, Pip, and Grin, again, I think that's how you say their names, is when they recite the Black to Jon. it was a very powerful moment. So I just really enjoyed that aspect of it. And also, this, again, this is the part that just made me love Sansa and made me feel horrible for not liking her through the rest of the series, but it's when she says to Joffrey, or maybe he'll get me yours, in reference to Joffrey just said that he'll get her another gift and have Robb's head brought to her. She says, or maybe he'll bring me yours. Oh, that was such a good one. That was, I am really looking forward to seeing how she progresses as a character in the following seasons, or for however long she lives. Again, beyond here, I honestly don't know how long anyone lives other than just what I see in certain promos. I know Jon Snow stays alive for a while, and I know that Daenerys stays alive for a while. Other than that, I'm kind of blank as far as the rest of that. But moving on from there, my next favorite quote comes from the sorceress, Miri Maz, and that is, "Why don't you take a look at your call, and you will see exactly what life is worth when all the rest is gone." And again, I don't agree with what she did. I can understand her motivations, but in general, it is a very powerful line, and it's, I mean, symbolically, it says a lot about both what she experienced and what she has now forced Dany to go through as far as Drogo goes. But yeah, it was a very powerful line, very powerful for sure. And then my final quote of the episode, it was the monologue that Dany gives to her new Khalasar, or yeah, that's how you pronounce it, I guess, Khalasar. And it was just one part of what connected that scene to the final one, and then seeing her with the dragons, and then Ser Jorah going to his knees and saying, "Blood of my blood." It was, just as a whole, just like, so well done. And the speech was really good, again, or at least I found it to be so. So as far as that goes, I would love to hear any other quotes of the episode you all might have. Again, there were some definitely great lines, and at least a few I can think of that would be coming from Tyrion that I probably should have included, but I didn't, just because, I mean, it's kind of a given. It's like, you know, Tyrion says all these great lines, so I feel like I kind of need to look outside of him from time to time to get good lines. But, moving on from there, I really don't, other than just the simples, like, you know, what's going to happen next? I don't really have any questions or theories at this point. I'm just looking forward to finding out what happens moving into the next season. I do, however, have a WTF of the episode, and that is Cersei sleeping with Lancel Lannister, her cousin. Now, given it is kind of less disgusting than her having sex with her own brother, but at the same time, Lancel is also, at least seemingly, significantly younger than both Cersei and Jaime. And there's just something sickening about that aspect of it. Yeah, I mean, it was a very, I mean, it didn't even show them having sex, but it is obviously very heavily implied, you know, go back to the bed, completely naked, and yeah, I just don't know, but yeah, that made me cringe and made me a little sick to my stomach, to say the least. Now, as for my overall thoughts on this episode, I thought it was okay. it was definitely, like, if you were reading a book, it is what comes after the climax of the story. So this episode was sort of the downhill slope, bringing us to the end of the season that occurs after the climax of the story, which is or in this case was Ned getting his head cut off. Or just the previous episode in general, really. Because, I mean, not a lot happens, there's a lot, it's not exactly world building, but it's not as tense as the most recent episodes were. It reminded me of some of the earlier episodes from this season, which they weren't bad, again, but just sort of, it felt in comparison, it wasn't a letdown, it was just sort of, okay. But then we did get that nice bit right at the end with Daenerys and the dragons and all them. And, well, I guess I'll add this into my overall. I don't really consider it an annoyance, but as far as the ending of everyone's part of the story or their last scenes in this, I do wish they had been, I don't know, closer to the end together. I feel like I don't know, there should have been more final scenes that happen right at the end, because like I feel like the whole scene where they proclaim Robb King of the North was like halfway through the episode, and then again it felt staggered and strange. I do wish that some of those scenes would have come closer to the end, or like right before that final scene with Daenerys and the dragons. Again, it's not an annoyance necessarily, it's just that would have made it maybe a little bit stronger to me, but maybe they were going along with the structure of the story, or the book rather, which I could understand if that's the case. But yeah, overall, I really liked this episode. I think it was a strong end to the season, just not one of my favorite ones per se. It was the downslide from the climax, and it's a build-up leading into the next season. And I do have to say, I do appreciate it when seasons don't end with the, like, oh no, is this person dead, or are they not? Rah! You know, something like that. I can't stand it when that happens. Now, at the end of, like, if it's at the end of part one of a two-part story, you know, that makes sense, but just at the end of a season, those drive me crazy, because then you have to wait however long until the next season comes out. But as a whole, I feel like this was a good, strong end to the first season, just not as great of an episode as I kind of hoped it would be. So yeah, that's all I have to say about this episode. I'm very happy to be at the end of the first season. And speaking of that, the next video for this series that I will be coming out with is my Season 1 recap. I would love for you all to submit some of your favorite episodes, maybe any particular favorite moments, maybe some things you feel are underappreciated, whether they're characters or episodes. I would love to hear your thoughts on those, and I'll do my best to include some of those things, in addition to, you know, just my general recap of the season overall. But yeah, thank you all, everyone, for being here for the final episode of Season 1 of Discovering Game of Thrones. I can't talk. And I will see you all next time for the series Season 1 recap. Until then, everyone, I'm Papa Ken, and winter is coming.